three major signs that Donald Trump had God's backing won. The foretold 2016.
Now God says, a president that I will bring into the White House, and they will say he is ungodly. He does not know God. But even as Jesus disguised himself for the great feast, so I have disguised this man's heart. And when he comes to the White House, laws shall change. Young men and young women controlled by darkness because of this man that shall rule for another 2 terms. For 2 terms, God said, do not fear. For the Lord says there will be no unnecessary stuff. But there will be things that men shall question. Fear not, for he shall sit in that seat and suddenly
Trump's unexpected victory in the 2016 presidential election stunned America's political landscape. But what many don't realize is that it was foretold long before he even considered running. In 2007, Prophet Kim Clement predicted that Trump would serve 2 terms and face impeachments. Mainstream media and political elites dismissed him outright. Top commentators such as Anderson Cooper, CNN, Rachel Maddow, NBC, and Fareed Zakaria, CNN.
He's not going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
All right.
I think if he becomes the president, he'll make it great, because the states is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom, pleasure.
Take it
Thank
from
you very
me.
much.
How about that?
Cheers, Tom.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Stand and deliver that State of the Union address. In no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on to Matthew Dowd.
Sorry to laugh.
Next.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? It's been fun.
Be clear, Donald Trump will lose the election.
Talking about him every day, and we continuously bashing him.
He's not going to be the president. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
And nobody wins all of the toss-up states? Even if Donald Trump did win all of the toss-up states, he would still lose.
Scandals like the infamous Access Hollywood tape, smear campaigns involving figures like Stormy Daniels, and the lack of support from prominent Republicans such as George Bush and the late John McCain added to the doubts. Billionaires like George Soros, Richard Branson, and Michael Bloomberg backed Hillary Clinton, leaving Trump as the least qualified candidate by conventional metrics. Despite all this, Trump defied polls, criticism, and scandals to secure a historic win. Like King David, who was overlooked by his own family, Trump's rise reflected the unmistakable hand of divine favor. 2. Losing the 2020 election and the persecution that followed. God often leads his chosen down narrow paths, and Trump's journey after the 2020 election loss was no exception.
This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop.
his first term was fraught with relentless opposition, biased media coverage.
I am greeted with a hostile press, the likes of which no president has ever seen. And you see it, 94 and 95% of the press is hostile.
Let's be frank, a national nightmare is upon us.
It's not really in serious dispute anymore that President Trump is not up to this job.
How badly is he failing right now?
That address probably should have come with a Surgeon General's warning. It was hazardous to the truth.
Do you think journalists are going to look back years from now and regret not doing even more to speak out about this lying and deceit?
I think some journalists will.
Is it appropriate to ask whether the president is having difficulty with rationality?
He is unstable.
He's not well.
The president is a Russian operative.
America's president sided with its enemy today.
That would be treason, right?
To believe that the president isn't compromised requires such a leap of faith.
All he had to do was not, put on jammies and crawl under the covers with Vladimir Putin, and he couldn't do that.
What does Putin have on him?
What does Putin have on Trump?
The Trump administration has been copying the wrong Korea.
Dime store slurring Mussolini.
Wannabe dictator.
If the party nominates Hitler, you going to vote for him?
Does this look like Germany in 1933?
We're getting close.
We're not the opposition party. We are just trying to get at the truth.
When you see entire media companies essentially exist to tear down Joe Biden, is there an equivalent to that on the left tearing down Trump?
There really isn't.
The Russian collusion hoax based on a dossier funded by the Clinton campaign, countless lawsuits against his team to distract him, and investigations aimed at undermining his presidency. The COVID-19 pandemic further complicated his tenure, introducing widespread mail-in voting that Trump claimed was rife with fraud. After losing to Joe Biden, a candidate who ran a low-energy campaign, Trump refused to concede. This sparked a flurry of court cases, all of which he lost, and culminated in the January 6th Capitol riot.
On January 6th, thousands of rioters, many coming from Trump's Save America rally, stormed the U.S. Capitol as Congress met to...
The aftermath saw Trump impeached for a second time and vilified for allegedly inciting the violence. Adding to his woes, social media giants banned him in unison. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram silenced his accounts, while tech companies like Google and Apple restricted conservative-leaning platforms such as Parler. Returning to Mar-a-Lago, Trump faced further persecution. Lawsuits, negative publicity, and even an FBI raid on his home for classified documents. This was his lowest moment in life. Some of the most notable cases included New York State, fraud charges for allegedly misreporting property values to lower taxes or secure favorable loans. Manhattan, defamation and sexual assault allegations from writer E. Jean Carroll. Manhattan District Attorney, felony charges related to hush money payments. Department of Justice, charges related to the removal of classified documents. Georgia, a racketeering case alleging election interference in the 2020 results. Election subversion, federal charges tied to efforts to overturn the election. Trump's allies, including Vice President Mike Pence and officials like Bill Barr and Mitch McConnell, distanced themselves, branding him a threat to democracy. For the first time in U.S. history, a former president became a...
We've got a verdict. Ari Melber.
We are looking at count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33.
Despite these trials, Trump's resilience shone through. He endured, proving his unbreakable spirit and determination, echoing the biblical trials of King David before ascending to the throne. Three, a triumphant return, restoration and victory. Trump's second-term victory stands as undeniable proof of divine support. Surviving two assassination attempts, including a miraculous escape in Butler, Pennsylvania, Trump defied the odds yet again. His resounding victory over Kamala Harris saw him win the popular vote and reclaim swing states. This victory not only restored his political standing, but also brought honor to his name. Legal vindication. The Supreme Court ruled that he had immunity for actions taken as president, leading to the collapse of numerous cases. Reconciled relationships. Former critics, including billionaires like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, publicly praised him after his victory. Media turnaround. Even legacy media figures began to seek reconciliation, with pundits visiting him at Mar-a-Lago. Public approval. Trump's approval ratings hit record highs, and his net worth surged. In the words of Tanzanian artist Rose Muhando, "Waliokudarau siku moja watakuingia kwa heshima." Those who disrespected you will one day honor you. Regardless of personal opinions about Donald Trump, his journey reveals a striking parallel to the biblical narrative of resilience, divine purpose, and ultimate vindication.